What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the next iteration in this DaVinci Resolve tutorial. Today we're going to be getting into something called power grades and creating LUTs. Now this one is actually really powerful. You guys may have seen people kind of sell their own LUTs and things online. Well, I'm going to teach you guys how you can actually create your own LUTs and how you can, maybe you could start selling them, how to create your own grades and kind of reapply them onto different footage in the future. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the software. Let's go ahead and get some clips to work with here. So let's go ahead and grab this lens clip here. So here we have our clip in a timeline. Then I'm going to go over here to the color tab, okay, and click on that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just start creating a look, right? All right, so I do want a very cold look, so I'm just going to kind of walk you through kind of my color grading process, and you guys can, in fact, I'm going to show you guys an application of what we're going to do, actually. So I'm going to click on gallery here in the top left corner, and you see where it says power grade here? Well, we've got this one called power grade 1 and 2. So let's say I wanted to, let's just drag in my regular Rec 709 power grade. Okay, so I already have one that's already saved, so I'll show you what this does, and it actually builds out my node tree. Okay, now this right here, let me zoom to window by clicking on zoom to window here. Okay, so you guys can see what I'm doing. But as you guys can see, this is my node tree, and this node tree is powerful. I mean, wow, you can do so much with this node tree alone. I won't get into this in depth quite yet. It's going to be more for our advanced course and how you can build stuff like this. But this is kind of where I kind of reside in when I start doing my color grades, okay? So basically, we've got some noise reduction in the very beginning. And a lot of people will tell you to do noise reduction, through an effect here. I definitely don't recommend that. I recommend doing it through this little like icon right here, which is called, let's see if we hover, it's called motion effects. So if you click on that, and then you can do your temporal noise reduction right in here. You can turn your luma up, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's kind of where I recommend it, because you start getting some weird effects if you do it otherwise. Then we got this coming into a color space transform. I'm basically turning this Rec 709 footage into DaVinci wide gamut, and then basically I'm doing exposure, I'm doing white balance, I'm doing some, some saturation stuff going on here. I'm adding some vignetting, and I'm fixing the highlights, and I'm also adding like a matte on top of that as well. So there's a lot going on. All of this is happening simultaneously, and then once all that is done, I then go ahead and color correct our footage from DaVinci wide gamut to Rec 709, and then I give it the look that I want. Usually I don't really mess with this one too much unless, like I said, we want a certain look. Our hue, this is kind of similar to the HSV here, but we can kind of accentuate certain colors a little bit more. And then we get our contrast here, so where you can do your like S curve over here. You can kind of create your S curve, boom and boom, right? So that is that. And then lastly, you can drop your LUT right here, you can drop your effects right here, and then you can go right here to any adjustments that you need to get that final kind of look that you want. So as you can see, this is all mostly empty aside from the vignette is already built in and baked in. As you can see, I did that with a gradient here, and then all it is just a gradient that I moved right over here and just kind of put it right here, of course, on the far right hand side of the footage. Okay, and then of course we got our highlights. I did that with the primaries wheel, which is where we are right here, and we're on the first one here. And you can see my highlights, are at -30. Okay, so now let's say you do all this stuff to your footage. Let me just kind of give you guys an example. So let me go over here, and let's go ahead and get into my lens footage, and let's just start messing with some of this stuff, right? So let's just kind of using my waveforms right here. You guys can see, actually we're missing quite a bit here. So if this ever happens where you're missing a lot of stuff, you can actually get a lot of these things back by simply clicking on certain things. So you can click on your waveform, that'll give you back your waveform right here. Let's say you are missing your hex, your color, or your color warper, you can click on that here, and so on and so forth. But if you actually want to bring everything back to the way it normally was, you can also come up here to workspace. You can click on this, and then what you can do is actually you know, you can actually reset your layout right here. Okay, so we're gonna hit reset layout, and now you can see it goes back to the way it was. And we can right back click here, click zoom to window, and then kind of go back to where we was. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit on not keyframes, but I'm gonna go to scopes over here, and I'm gonna change that from parade to waveform. Okay, so that's kind of, you know, a quick way if you can get your interface to kind of look the way you should. Okay, so now that we're here, let's go ahead and create a little look. So now I got my waveform. As you can see, it sits really low here in the shadows. I mean, we're at 0 in some part. Like, there is complete darkness here. It's just in the back here, as you can see, right in here. Okay, so we want to bring some of that out, right? So as you can see, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go boom, bring this up a little bit. Of course, now we're introducing a little bit more noise. So I'm gonna come up to here, because we're bringing up the shadows, and then I'm going to do my temporal you know, noise reduction here. We're going to bring that up a little bit, but I'm actually going to disable this because we don't need noise reduction right now. So I'm going to hit Control and D as in Delta on the keyboard. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of some contrast. I'm going to come over to here, give it a little bit of a contrast curve, just a tiny bit of S curve there, and now you can see those highlights are starting to pop a little bit more now in this area right here, the image. So before, after, before, after. That's a little too bright, right? So I'm gonna kind of bring this back down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over my HDR wheels, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring down the overall exposure down a little bit more, and then I'm gonna bring up my shadows a little bit, and voila. And then what we need to do is get our white balance right. So then I'm gonna go over here to the primaries wheels, and I'm gonna go to offset over here, as you guys can see, and I'm gonna go ahead and swap this over to a vector scope. So you can see I am quite far as we hold Alt and scroll in on the mouse wheel. I am way into the warm here. We need to bring this white blotch closer to the center right here where my mouse is, right? So we're gonna do that with the offset and just shift it over to where we want this. So we're gonna shift it. Voila. Now we have a much better looking image here, and this looks closer to what it really was. And so you guys can see before, after, it's already looking significantly better. And then what we're gonna do is go back to waveform, and as you can see, it's starting to actually fill in, you know, some of these other parts of the image. And then we're gonna go over to, you know, I don't know, let's say you want to change your saturation. You know, this is actually HSV. It stands for hue and saturation, and hue saturation value, I believe is what it stands for. And so I want to go to my channels, and channel 1 corresponds to the hue, channel 2 corresponds to the saturation, and channel 3 corresponds to the value. So I want to turn those all off, and I just want to affect the saturation. So then I'm going to go over here to my gamma wheel, and then I'm going to go down here to the gamma scroller or slider and bring this in to get more saturation into the image. As you guys can see, it is starting to get very much more saturated, just a little bit, to kind of get those colors back. So you guys can see before, after. So now we have like a really good looking image to start with. You know, I got my contrast going. You know, we can even accentuate maybe more of these, like, you know, these hue tones. I usually like to do that in the hue versus saturation while I'm in my curves here, and you can get to hue versus saturation by controlling over these tiny icons right here. You guys can see where I am, so I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to go ahead and like I'm going to click a spot. Like I really like something about this color tone. I want this right here. I just want to accentuate that a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of pop that more, as you guys can see. And that's where 10-bit really is powerful. Now you can see the difference on 10-bit, and you guys can see that that really does make a difference. So if I disable and enable, you can see the before and after. Disable, boom, boom, boom. So very minimal, very minimal, actually hardly any change on the vector scope here, or on our waveform. So we can actually go a little further. And yeah, we're not really doing, oh, we are actually changing. Look at that, I can see it clearly. So it's just very minimal. And so we're gonna go ahead and push. Whoa, that's a pretty big push what we just did. But as you guys can see, we can kind of push things into certain ways. So this is actually a very extreme look now. But so before, after. I don't know if you guys can actually see that, but just know that we are actually changing stuff here, whether you'd like to believe it or not, whether your eye can tell you or not. So There's definitely a vibe here and a look now. So oh yeah, look at how the red is. So before, look at here, look in this area on the red on the background after. So it's just kind of popping more. Okay, so really neat. Mainly because this red here got picked up, so we can actually pick this up and then bring this back down and bring this back down. So that's pretty much what happened there, and we're gonna bring this back down as well. So just the cyan, and I do see more of a blue tone right here. You guys see that on the edge of this lens now? So really neat, right? So that is that. And now we're gonna go over to LUT, and I'm gonna go over to one of our handy dandy LUTs. I think I gave y'all some of these, or I gave y'all this in one of my videos. If you haven't went ahead and downloaded these LUTs, I'll go ahead and give you all of these. But these can make for some really cool looks. So that's one right there. It's a more of a cold look. Oh, that one's really neat. Whoa, that one's got some crazy contrast going on. So you got all these different looks, right? So I like 10. Usually I like number 10, and I'll put my LUT in here, and I don't fully bake it on. I'll come over here to now key output, which is actually right here, and then I'll go ahead and change this to like point, 4 or something like that. So as you can see, before after, so it actually put some warmth in there. And then I would say FX, I will go over to FX up here to effects, maybe add a little bit of some maybe you want to add some glow into your mix, right? Go over here to glow, and then we want to go to spread. Maybe we can go to gain, gamma, make some changes here, just give it some character. Do you see a difference? I do see a difference, very minimally. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And then the color filter, I do want like a blue cyan like glow if we can. And wow, I'm actually starting to see that down here actually now. If I didn't before, I'm just seeing things that weren't there before. That's the cool thing about color. Your eye is adjusting, and adapting. But once you craft a look, it's actually really fascinating, what you can do. And I can actually see the whole lens is actually glowing this cyan color. I don't know if you guys can see that. This whole thing has a different hue now. So you guys can see that right in here as I turn this off and on. So when I turn this off, watch what happens. Off, you see that there's like no haze, and then the whole tone changes, and I enable it back. Boom, you see how it actually adds a little bit of some cyan to the defringed edges of the subject here. So this is actually a really cool looking vibe going on. So, and you can tell that it's doing something because you can see a movement here right on our scopes, and that's why I tell you guys to use these scopes. So if I hit Control D, you can actually see, you see that jumping up and down now? You guys see that right here? So you can see we are actually in fact doing something to the image. We are picking up cyans and blues. So that is that. And then the last thing I usually like to do in adjustment, and sometimes I may add another effects layer and add maybe like, I don't know, like sharpness or something like that. So you can go over here to this magnifying glass and you can search sharp edges. I like to do edges actually. Sharpen those edges a little bit. That way takes a little bit of that digital sharpness off. And then now we have sharpened edges there. We're gonna go to fit to window again. And as you can see, our node tree is getting really a good workout here, right? And then we're gonna go from that to adjustment. And in my last final adjustment is gonna actually push this over into I kind of want to I don't know, I like this actually. This is actually a really cool look. So before, after, wow, look at that. I mean, we just made that thing pop, right? Like this is popping in a way that it wasn't popping before, right? So before, after, completely different vibe. So you guys can see how this node tree really in fact does make for a good look. So now let's say you want to save all this, right? So you done did all your color grading, you done did all your stuff, you got a vibe going, you want to save it, right? Okay, so there's two ways you can do this. You can save it as a power grade, and you can actually save the LUT that you build and colored together as well. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to do both. So let's first talk about the easiest, which is actually they're both pretty same. Let's jump right into software and let's take a look at it. So let's say we want to take this look, right? We say, okay, I like this look a lot. So the harder way to do this is to go over here to gallery, top left corner, click on gallery. And then what we're going to do is you're going to come over to your image here in the viewer and right click on it. And you're going to hit grab still. Okay. Now what that did is it put this right here. Okay. So I'm going to call this, change the label to learning course look tree. Right. And now if I delete all of this, okay, gone, right? Back to square one. Guess what? I can just drag and drop this into here. Boom. It's back. Pretty cool, right? So, okay, you're probably like, that's just one clip. It doesn't do that on everything. Okay, sure. Here, you want to drop mailbox in? Cool. Sure, here we go. Go over. Whoops, I cannot click on the color button today for some reason. Go over here. Take your same thing, your learning course tree. Drag and drop it onto here. Boom. There you go. Wow, that does not look good for daylight shots. But you guys can see it is actually applying that same thing here. Okay, the tree and all the settings go with it. Let me repeat myself. The tree and the settings all go with it when you store it as a power grade. Okay, power grades are incredible. And that is how you can actually make your own personal LUTs and grades and things and kind of reuse them on the projects. Yes, when you close a DaVinci project and reopen a new one, will these still be there? Yes, absolutely. Okay, now let's jump back into the software. So now that we have confirmed that is the harder way, and I say harder because it's like one extra step. All right, so but as you can see, some LUTs don't work really well on certain clips, so you have to keep that in mind, right? So obviously this one was done in a very dark environment, so you want to kind of try to do something that was very similar. Okay, so let's go ahead and undo that. And now what we're going to do is do the other method. So we're going to click on our clip over here, and then we're going to right click on this, and then we're going to hit generate LUT. And I recommend doing like 33 point Q because it's already that's pretty much enough right there. And what the LUT is going to do is going to ask you to store it somewhere. You'll store the file, and then you can put that file with all your other LUTs. So if you click on LUTs here, okay, and if you right click on any LUT and go to open file location, it will actually reveal to you where this LUT is. So you can see cinematic 10 right here, cinematic 10 right here. So you can go back a folder, and put these in your own LUT file. So you can call these, personal LUTs or whatever, make a new folder, and call it my LUTs or whatever. And you can put that exported file that you have into that folder, and you can reapply that look to any footage as well. And you can even sell that LUT and make money on it somewhere on a platform. All right, now what I just gave you guys, y'all know I'm all about giving y'all sauce, and I just gave you guys sauce, a lot of it. I just taught you guys power grading, reapplying grades, saving trees, doing things like that, creating LUTs, how you can make a file and then sell those LUTs. That is a lot right there. I do not want to overwhelm you guys. I hope that you guys found some value, and I hope you guys learned something in that video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, we'll see you.